What's up? What's up? What's up? And welcome to another episode of the Savery Show. This is your boy and co-host Avery Floyd.
What's up, good people? It's your boy and co-host Sterling Littlejohn.
Yes, sir. And y'all are tuned into another episode. As you can see here, I got my Savery Show virtual background this time, but also I got the Savery Show t-shirt. Yeah, y'all see it. So y'all might have seen this before. We did a promotion over the summer. The Savery Show summer is like sizzling summer giveaway. So we're actually, we're in the spring, but we're gonna start doing another giveaway very soon. So I just want y'all to see the merch, man. We got it, and hopefully y'all will have it soon too. But with that being said, this is episode 7 of the Savery Show Speaker Series, and as you guys know, when we have our speaker series, we love to have either former or current professional athletes or sports executives that work in the community engagement, community outreach, or nonprofit sector of sport, right? So not the people who are playing on the field, the people doing the behind the scenes work to see all the great action that we see on TV or in person. So with that being said, man, very special guest this evening. I actually got to work with her professionally over the summer. She got to come in as a speaker for my group of kids. So she's great. She's phenomenal. And you guys can hear a lot of great insight tonight. So without further ado, we'd like to introduce to the show the now senior director of community engagement for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, which is a minor league baseball team, Miss Andrea Williams.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank y'all so much for having me on. I'm always excited. I was excited to see that t-shirt. Avery is dope. I'm glad to see you guys with your merch.
Again, y'all.
Yeah,
hope everybody. It's a dry fit too. Perfect for the summer. It's a nice dry fit shirt. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You can work out in it. You can style on them with it. You know what I'm saying? We might have different colors, right?
You need dry fit for that Florida weather. So I'm telling you,
Georgia too, man. Georgia too. Yes, it's coming. But thank you so much for being on, Andrea. We're gonna have a fun show tonight. Shout out to everybody watching on the YouTube page. To see the shirt, if you're not watching, you can't see it. So go to our YouTube page at the Savery Show. Check us out if you're listening through the audio. With that being said, Andrea, we just want you to give us a quick introduction. Just let us know about yourself and what you currently do.
Yeah, well, again, thank you so much for having me, guys. It's exciting. I love to see what you guys are doing. I think it's great that you guys are using this platform to educate the people on the world of sports. So I appreciate you just inviting me to the party. But again, Andrea Williams, Senior Director of Community Engagement for the AAA affiliate of the Miami Marlins, Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, right in the heart of Northeast Florida in Jacksonville, Florida. I came with the new ownership here, so this is our 6th year, going into our 6th year. Prior to that, I was with the WNBA Atlanta Dream for a couple of years. And then prior to that, I was with the Quad Cities River Bandits, which when I started, they were a Cardinals affiliate. And when I ended, they were an Astros affiliate. So been around baseball quite some time. I lost count of the number of games I've seen, but I still love it. So I still show up every day. So I love, being a part of the sports world.
Absolutely. And we appreciate having you on. So with that being said, man, I'm gonna pass it to my bro Sterling. He's actually gonna get us started tonight with the questions.
All right.
Yes, and once again, thanks, Andrea, for coming on with us. We really appreciate you, taking time, out of your day to come on our podcast. So the first question I actually have for you is, you kind of just touched on a little bit. Can you discuss your journey to the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp a little bit further for our audience, just so that they understand, the journey that you had along your way? I know you kind of mentioned Atlanta Dream as well, but can you just give our audience more insight to how you started and where you're at today?
Yeah, absolutely. I actually started as a merchandise intern. That's why I'm digging that shirt like I am. So it was my job to order merchandise for the Quad Cities River Bandits. So I got a chance to deal with, buyers, Nike, stuff like that, and design clothes that I thought customers would buy. I also got a chance to run the online store and the storefront in the ballpark. So that was my very first job in baseball. I absolutely loved it. Had no idea what being a merchandise intern meant when I took the job, but it was an opportunity to get in sports, and I took it. I got into sports with the hopes of being in community relations one day. That was kind of my entry level, dream to be in community relations. And the general manager of the team at the time, one of my mentors to this day, Stephanie Lonkerich, had a had a internship position in her merchandise, but that position was under the community relations director at the time. So I got a chance to learn something new in the merchandise world, get good fits and understand about fitted hats and all kind of shorts and gloves and stuff like that that people would purchase. But I also got a chance to learn what it meant for a sports team to penetrate the community in various ways. And so that was my kind of entry point into sports. Shortly thereafter, my same boss came to me and said that she needed someone to run the box office. And again, had absolutely no idea what that meant. But I took the job anyway and ended up being the box office manager, which later turned into ticket operations, which is basically more so the technical side of it, making sure that all of the ticketing aspects are taken care of. So later, I left the Quad Cities River Bandits to take an account executive job, which is just a fancy way of saying sales job, ticket sales, group sales, stuff like that for the Atlanta Dream. I did that for a couple years, and then I got a call from a man named Harold Craw, who I worked with at the Quad Cities River Bandits, who was getting an opportunity to build his team in Jacksonville for the then Jacksonville Suns. They had been purchased by a man named Ken Babby, and they were building a new team, and I had worked with Harold previously, so he called me and said, I want you to check out Jacksonville. I thought he was crazy. I was living my absolute best life in Atlanta and had no reason to leave. But he told me to come down and check it out. It's just a different energy here. And the market was in need of someone to do the work that I do. So he convinced me to come down, and I've been here ever since.
No, that's great. And we actually share like a similar passion because I actually work for USA Track and Field as community relations coordinator.
Okay. Nice.
So we actually have that passion as far as giving back to the community to that nature. And I really love what I do because it gives me opportunity to really give back to kids who are really in need. So I really enjoy it. So I appreciate you for sharing that with us. Also, you kind of mentioned a little bit about Harold Craw. Can you give us insight how it is working for the only African-American general manager in all of minor league baseball?
Yeah.
You give us insight about that?
I will. I brag on it all the time. He will not do that, but I am his own personal cheerleader, I like to say. But Harold Craw is an amazing executive. I mean, he's a storied 20-year executive in this industry. He has definitely earned the title of executive vice president and general manager, but he is a Black man. And, it's something that I make sure doesn't get overlooked. There's not another one. There should be. There should be, people that of all backgrounds, races, men and women, that are general managers in minor league baseball, but that's not the case. And so with that not being the case, I think he should be celebrated. So I try to do that, and I try to bring light to that as often as possible. I've had the opportunity of having so many diverse leaders, which is not common in sports. But I've had the opportunity, the first person I worked for was a woman general manager in minor league baseball. She was at the time the only woman general manager in the Midwest League in minor league baseball. I then worked for an African-American sales director who is now I think she's the COO of the LA Sparks, Natalie White. Had a chance to work for her, and then I had a chance to work for Harold. So I've been in a fortunate position to work for people who look like me. And this has become sort of a necessity for me because it helps me to be comfortable in showing up as myself every day at work. So Harold and I, we share a very special connection because of our passion for kids, and we both have education backgrounds, and we have a passion for Negro League baseball. And then, you know, we share the commonality of being African-American executives in this industry.
Thank you. That's fantastic. And I love the insight that you just added as far as like having, you know, like very much like African Americans involved within the sport. Now you guys are very well connected with one another. And I think that's very important, you know, actually, you know, to help the sport progress along. So I'm glad that you provided us that insight with that. One last question before I kick it off to my boy Avery. Can you just highlight some of your ups and downs that you've had throughout your career for our audience?
Sure. You know, I've had a lot of ups. I have been extremely fortunate. I did not get a sport management degree. I didn't have to beat down doors for internship opportunities. I'm a woman of faith, and my walk was completely ordered by God. So I was lucky in a lot of different ways. So I've had a lot of ups in this industry. In terms of downs, the industry is hard on the body. And if you don't listen to your body will force you to sit down. And so myself and other people that I know have, you know, had to deal with some health things because they didn't listen to their body. You know, baseball is a grind. It's a 70-game season, you know, 14, 15-hour days, most days on game days. And then in community, you're always at events outside of that home schedule. So it's a little bit intimidating, and it's a little bit of a grind on the body. And so I would say down wise, you know, I've had a couple situations where I didn't listen to my body, like your grandma would tell you to do. And I had to sit down somewhere, and that's happened to me more than once. But other than that, man, I'm extremely blessed. And any career is going to have their, you know, the days where you absolutely love it and the days you wonder why you do it. But I've had a lot more days that I love, and I can't complain about that.
Yes, and I love that you actually mentioned the fact that sports is pretty much a grind. Like I think a lot of people, once they get into sports, they get so excited, like, hey, like I'm about to work in sports, but people don't really understand like it's all day, every day, and it gets tiring after a while. And like you said, like you can really mentally really break down. And I'm glad that you shared that, because I know at times when I'm at work, I'm like, it's a lot going on, but you know, I still grind through. But like you said, it's very difficult at times. So I'm glad you shared that with us.
Yeah, and it's very important, Sterling. You touched on something. My conversation mostly about physical, but it's the mental side of it too. And you'll start to notice that it's becoming pretty standard for a sports team to include counseling services in their compensation packages, insurance packages, because it's important. Because when you're spending that much time giving, pouring into fans, into your community, spending that many hours away from home, you know, sometimes that can lead to, you know, different things emotionally and mentally that you may not have prepared yourself for. And sometimes you need an outlet for that. So it's very important. I'm a very big advocate for mental health in African American community. So I always tell people, you know, if you're working in this industry, you need to make sure, you know, you're all right mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually. Got to get it
Absolutely.
right.
Absolutely, 100%.
All right,
You
so I'm gonna
take it
pick
away,
it up
bro.
from here. Thank you. So staying on the career, you know, the career path in sport for you, but I did want to just what you just said about that, like the mental, physical, emotional, spiritual. So like in Andrew, you know, when you came to speak to my kids last summer during the pandemic, you know, we had pivoted to do virtual learning, and it's important that you don't pour from an empty cup, right? So you
Mhm.
just ourselves, right, as the staff working with the youth, you know, we have to be socially and emotionally in it, because if we're not, the youth we serve, we know that they're going to know that we're off our game, right? And you want to make sure that you can pour as much into them, you know, but making sure that we're good too. So I appreciate that you brought that fact up as well. But so just a couple more questions before we transition here.
Sure.
So you did talk about the diversity aspect a little bit. So, you know, we keep it real at the Savery Show, right? And we want to know specifically, Andrea, at any point, you know what I'm saying, working in sports, how has it felt, you know, as a Black woman, right? you know that you're a minority, not just in America, but in that specific industry as well. So can you speak about some of the challenges that you had to maybe overcome understanding that?
Yeah, so we're family here, and we all understand what it means to be Black in this country. Um, when you take that and put it inside of an industry where you don't see very many people that look like you, I'm speaking specifically baseball, the WNBA, that was not the issue. But minor league baseball specifically, it can get lonely. I will. I remember the first time I was pulling tarp. I believe this was in the Quad Cities, and I had just got my hair done, and it was pouring down raining, and we had to go to pull the tarp on the field to save the game. And nobody understood why I was so frustrated and upset that I had spent my last little $50 or $60, I don't even know how much it cost to get my hair done, and it was completely washed out. There's nobody on a staff full of Caucasians that understands what that means or why I feel the way that I do. And so that's when I first kind of realized that um, it can kind of get lonely. I didn't have anybody to share that with, that experience with. I could talk to my friends about it, but they don't know what it's like to pull tarp in front of 5,000, 6,000 people to save a game. So that was kind of when I realized, and I started like looking at other teams that we played just to see if I saw any of the Black women that worked for the teams. And there was one accountant, I think, in one of the Ohio teams, but she was, I would say, at least 65 or 70 years old. So I wasn't really able to connect with her that well. And then I started realizing that there weren't a lot of African American women in minor league baseball at all, not just in the league that I was in at the time, which was the Midwest League. And so, excuse me, I realized that, oh, this might actually be a thing. So it was a little bit lonely, but that's when I started to create my passion for diversity and inclusion within the front office of sports. I started doing everything I could to volunteer to make sure that there were more women that look like me with opportunities in this industry, because we're fully capable of doing the work that anybody else is able to do.
Oh yeah, we definitely appreciate that, and I love that you brought the diversity and inclusion part, because we're actually going to take that as a segue to our next topic. So we're going to move on to Jackie Robinson Day, which was last week, April 15th. And so it was 74 years to that day when Jackie Robinson had broke the color barrier in Major League Baseball. So, Andrea, we want to know from a minor league baseball perspective, how is Jackie Robinson Day celebrated compared to Major League Baseball? Is it the same? Are there some differences? Obviously for the players and also the staff, how do you guys celebrate Jackie Robinson Day?
Yeah, so typically you'll see community relations kind of do its thing. Normally we would have had the opportunity to do some programming around it in the game. But as I was sharing with you prior to us starting, Avery, our schedule was pushed back a month. So we didn't have a game. Minor League Baseball wasn't operating on Jackie Robinson Day, only Major League Baseball was. So we weren't able to do the, the pomp and circumstance that comes with Jackie Robinson Day that we all love. Typically, you'll see some of the same programming between Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball. You may see some grants given and things of that nature that Major League Baseball has the money to do that Minor League Baseball doesn't. But other than that, the sentiment's pretty much the same. We have a long way to go to actualizing what Jackie Robinson stood for, which is making sure that everybody has the opportunity to experience this game that everybody loves. We got a while before we get there, but I think that the work that's being done specifically around recognizing the work that Jackie Robinson did is pretty remarkable.
Absolutely. And I appreciate your take on that. So basically, just a quick little story. So for me, Jackie Robinson's the idol for me. Baseball was my first love as a sport growing up, and the best sport I could play. So of course, I love it. So with me personally too, like, being a black man, I played baseball with a lot of white kids, right? There weren't that many people that looked like me. I did play with some people who were Dominican or Hispanic, but as far as black players, there weren't that many. But Jackie Robinson, like, I wore the number 42 because of Jackie Robinson, right? Like that, I literally, like, as far as I could play it, baseball, like, I was going to wear 42 every chance that I could do. And I tried to obviously give thanks and be thankful every time I played the game. And originally I'm from New York, so I'm a big Yankee fan. And I remember we made a post about this on Jackie Robinson Day. I remember it was, I want to say the ALCS of 2010. The Yankees were playing the Texas Rangers, and my father took me to the game. And before the game, we got to go with the Yankee Stadium called Monument Park. And I'm seeing all of the retired jerseys and the monuments. And the one that caught my eye, the one that I had to see without leaving, was that number 42. And I'm sure, Andrea, as you know, in every ballpark, in all Major League Baseball, number 42 is retired. And for those listening and watching, if you did not know this, when they started Jackie Robinson Day, and I believe it was 1997, Andrea, if I'm wrong, I apologize, but I think it was 1997 when they started it, when all the players would actually wear the number 42. And I think that was really dope. And I got to see the Jackie Robinson number. I took a picture near the plaque and everything, still have it to this day. And I went, 10, 11 years ago, and I still remember that moment, and I always will remember that moment. So definitely want to at least say that a little bit personal for me. But Andrew, I have one more question, and I'm gonna turn it back to Sterling again. So when we talk about diversity and inclusion, not just for Jackie Robinson Day, but I'm curious if you could like dive a little bit deeper in like your behind the scenes roles for those community initiatives that you push as in relation to diversity and inclusion.
Yeah, so really, I really hate the fact that diversity and inclusion and community engagement gets split up so often, because really it's kind of the same work. It's making sure that I'll rephrase, diversity and inclusion in the community, not from an employment perspective. It's really every good community person, executive, focuses on providing equity and access to the product that's being serviced, right? So for me, it is making sure that there's equity and access to baseball games. And that includes finding ways for underrepresented communities to experience the game of baseball that we love. So part of what I do is making sure that we're able to, as Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp, touch every single community in Jacksonville, right? So it's ingrained, diversity and inclusion is ingrained in what we already do. But specifically, we wanted to make sure that we paid homage to a lot of the history that gets overlooked when it comes to the Negro Leagues and things like that. We want to make sure that people have access to that information. So one of the things that Harold and I implemented was called the High School Heritage Game. And basically we pull two rival high schools from Jacksonville together, and we put them in Jacksonville Red Caps uniforms, which is the Negro League team here in Jacksonville. And we put them in uniforms, we set the clubhouses up for them, we let them do the pitches, take the whole, have the whole big league experience as a high school student. They play for the A. Philip Randolph Cup. So there's, that's the baseball side of it. But the community programming side of it is we bring kids out that are feeders into those schools, and we educate them about the history of the Negro Leagues. We let them know that these players that you always hear about played right here in Jacksonville. And there's a lot of history that you can be proud of because of the Negro Leagues, right here from where you're from. But additionally, we talk about the character that these men had to have, and women, by the way, had to have in order to be successful in their sport. So, you talk about the perseverance of Jackie Robinson. Jackie Robinson was spit on. He had bats thrown at him. He had balls, thrown at his head. That takes perseverance to do that. We talk about Josh Gibson. We talk about Satchel Paige. We talk about Mamie Peanut Johnson, who's one of my favorite Negro League players. So we talk about the different character traits that these people had to have in order to be successful. And a lot of that translates into what some of these kids are going to every day. So there's important character building happening, and it's labeled under the diversity and inclusion programming, but it's really much deeper than that. And it's making sure that we're connecting with these young people and informing them and educating them about where they come from and who they're able to be. So that's kind of the perspective I take, or the approach I take when it comes to the programming. And that's kind of an example of what we're doing here in Jacksonville.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that. So big props to you. Shout out to you, Andrea, for leading the cause, leading the change, man, in Jacksonville. That's really great. And like you said, I think now officially this year, Major League Baseball has integrated the Negro League stats, right, into all of Major League Baseball, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So basically what they did is they made sure that those stats were recognized where they hadn't been in the past.
Exactly. So I'm glad it's taken long enough. Obviously, we're in 2021, but I guess better late than never. But regardless, I'm gonna pass it back to my boy Sterling to ask a few more questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks, bro. So Andrea, so I had one question I wanted to ask you was about the Jackson 5 program that you guys have. Can you explain that to our audience? Yeah. Yeah.
I love that. So I actually had a call with their teacher today. But the Jackson 5 program, those are my babies. It's a opportunity for us to really provide exposure to the sport to high school students. Andrew Jackson High School is a local high school here that had a sport marketing track when we first started the program. They're kind of shifting. Their track is more sport medicine now, but we're still maintaining the program. We take 5 freshmen every year and cycle them through for their entire 4 years of school. So the goal is for them to have 4 years of progressive work experience at a ballpark. They do everything from planning and executing a game. They write press releases, they pick charities, they've done shoe drives and food drives and stuff like that. They select their own marketing plan. They've created food and beverage specials. So they really get ingrained into the business side of sport. And it's really an opportunity, one, to get them out of school and into a hands-on learning environment where they can really gain some positive work experience. And it gives them an outlet, to do something that they love to do and hopefully learn something along the way. Most of these kids, they all stay with us throughout their 4 years, but they'll work summer jobs with us. They'll come back after high school and come and work with us. So it gives them an opportunity to really have the exposure that Harold and I didn't have growing up to the business side of sports. I didn't really realize that that was a thing until I was in my second graduate program at Valdosta State. So once I figured out that, a world like the business of sports existed, you couldn't, take my headlights off of it. So I wanted to make sure that I was doing something to provide exposure to those students that gives them an opportunity to just check it out. It may not be something that they want to do after they get out of high school, but it does provide them with 4 years of working experience over their counterparts when they step foot on their post-secondary campus or wherever they decide to go.
Absolutely, and I love that you guys do that. I was reading information about it, and I was like, this is a pretty cool program. And like you just said, it obviously, like you said, even if they don't decide to go, in the sports management route or whatever, it obviously gives them a lot of working experience, like you just stated. And I think that's very important that they get that at a particularly young age. So that's fantastic that you guys do that.
Thank you. I mean, in a world where our babies could use as much of a leg up as possible, we want to make sure that they're provided the opportunity to shine before they even know they need to shine, right? So this is giving them opportunities for scholarships. It's giving them added information that they can put on their college applications. We had 2 of them go into the military. It helped them with their ASVAB preparations and stuff. So, you know, it's just whatever leg up we can provide to these young people before they even know that they need it is a good thing.
Absolutely. And just one more question I had. We would also like to get your take, on the MLB AllStar Game being moved from Atlanta. You know, obviously you have Atlanta roots. So can you just give us your take about that?
Yeah, so tough call, right? I love Georgia. I love my Braves. I've been a lifelong fan. My grandmother used to make my mother listen to Braves games while she was pregnant in hopes that her granddaughter would one day become a Braves fan. And that worked. When I was 10, I believe, I knew that I was going to be the very first girl to play third base for the Atlanta Braves. So when I say I have been a lifelong Atlanta Braves fan, that is the absolute truth. What I'll say, and this is all from a fan perspective, minor league baseball had absolutely nothing to do with this decision. And honestly, no other baseball team aside from the Braves had anything to do with this decision. This was strictly a Major League Baseball league decision. And I mean, I get it. You know, the Voting Act, I was not a fan of anything that restricts people from having an opportunity to do their civic duty is not okay. And I think that through all of the hoopla behind moving the game and everything, I think we lost focus on why the game was moved. I think that I understand why the Braves are upset. I understand why they felt away. You know, they put a lot of money into this game. We're only a few months away. You know, preparations have been made, promises have been made, jobs were had, and there's a lot of different components to that goes on. You know, people prepare for all-star games for over a year. So for a game to be moved, within months, I could understand would cause a lot of ripples in the pond. I understand what Major League Baseball side of it is. At what point do you draw the line? When you're looking to be corporate social responsibility leaders and thought leaders and innovative and industry leaders. At what point do you draw the line? So I get it. I get it from both perspectives. As a fan, I would have loved to have been in the building at Truist Park during the All-Star Game. But I think the decision was made. I get it. I understand why. And I think that hopefully next time around, there'll be some different decisions that are made that won't impact the future potential sporting opportunities like the one that was supposed to be in Atlanta.
Bro, I want to jump in real quick.
Yeah, go right ahead. Yeah. I was just about to actually tell you.
Yeah.
Thank you. So, Andrew, I appreciate your perspective on that. And I did want to bring up as well. 1 second here. Let me check something. Sorry, I got it. So I've been living in the Atlanta area for about 3 years now, right? Mm-hmm. Been to SunTrust Park, did work with the Braves and their community foundation. Love the people there. Park's great. Trying to take the politics aside though. So when they did obviously do it, so down here in Georgia, as you guys know, listeners, what I'm saying. So we had the election for the Senate, right? Senate runoff. It was between John Ossoff, David Perdue. and also Raphael Warnock, and Reverend Raphael Warnock, excuse me, and Kelly Loeffler. So both Warnock and Ossoff won. Georgia turned blue, which hasn't turned blue, if I'm correct, since Bill Clinton was in office. Biden was elected president. We understand the importance that Georgia had in swinging the election for the Senate, as far as what the Democrats can do and all that stuff. I'm not gonna get too political, but I just want to put that out there. So the bill that got introduced kind of for the state of Georgia was trying to, in a sense, like basically kind of another way to suppress votes in a way, or make it more difficult for, let's just keep it real, people of color to vote. I'm just gonna keep it real, right?
Yeah.
So that happening, there was a major outrage from the community. I know parents of the kids I serve, they were talking about it. We all were looking towards the All-Star Game. I was gonna hopefully, with my youth, have some volunteer opportunities to help for the All-Star Game.
Right.
But one thing I did want to speak on that, and Andrew, you may have heard this or heard of them, excuse me, the Players Alliance that was formed, Major League Baseball. So I've been following them recently. And so the Players Alliance, if those who are not aware, it's a nonprofit that was formed by over 150 Black Major League Baseball players, current and retired. But their purpose is to unite, to use their voice and platform to create change and equality in the game. And one thing that I did see that they talked about is that even though the game was moved away from Atlanta, they're still going to have those community engagement opportunities for the underserved community in Atlanta. So it's not that some people were like, oh, well, you're going to lose over, $100 million in the businesses and the communities that, MLB might have done some field renovations, just giving back to schools and all of that great stuff that they do for All-Star games. The Players Alliance are making it their duty to not leave the underserved, community out just because the All-Star Game moved, right? So they're still going to come into Atlanta and still do some good work. So the shout out to them for one, and for two, I'm with you too. I do agree that I support the move, and if we're keeping it all the way real, Andrew, you and I love baseball, but not all of our African American brothers and sisters do, right? We know the diversity in the sport, the players, is very low. It's probably the lowest it's been in a long time. I forget the exact number. I thought I had it. I'm sorry I don't have it. But we just, it's very low, right? The viewership, right? All those things. So I think Major League Baseball, in my personal opinion, understanding the moment, understanding how they're trying to get, Black fans back in baseball, right? Getting more Black players, and that starts really at little league level up, but just understanding in this moment, they felt that it was best, for business and just for the future of the game to move the All-Star Game. And that obviously ruffled feathers, and it should. I mean, I'm not any team that got the All-Star Game removed, like the money, the business, the tourism, all that, even through COVID, people were still going to come out. They're still going to support. The Braves have fans at the stadium. So that being said, I think that, for one, it did need to be moved. Unfortunately, because of what happened, it's just showing that Major League Baseball is showing a side that we might not have seen in the past maybe 10 or 20 years when it comes to, supporting the Black community in a sense. So I think this opportunity for them was to show, hey, we support and understand what's going on, and we want to be in support of you. So because of that, for our best interest, we should probably move the game because of this, right? That's just my opinion. Okay, people might disagree. That's perfectly fine. But at the end of the day, I like that the Players Alliance is still going to come together into the city of Atlanta and create change and some different opportunities. So I don't want to get long-winded here. This time it was passionate. Sterling knows we were talking about it, and I was like, I gotta speak on this. So we appreciate your perspective as well, but definitely wanted to make sure we had time to get that in there. So with that being said, Andrea, I'm gonna give it back to Sterling again. We're gonna transition to the final part of the show. So Sterling, I'll let you take it away.
So our next segment is pretty much, Andrea, that We just want to know other like outside organizations you're involved with within the community. I actually see that you're actually a Zeta, by the way, as well.
Yeah.
So I'm an Alpha. So
Okay.
yeah, so Divine Nine. So
That's right.
yeah. So I just wanted to know if you can just explain more about outside, organizations you're involved with within the community.
Yeah, sure. Well, I do spend a lot of time with board participation. So I sit on the board for the United Negro College Fund here in Jacksonville, the Leadership Council. I sit on the board for a City Rescue Mission, which is an organization that helps to eradicate homelessness through the love of Christ. And then I also sit on the Jacksonville Human Rights Commission. It's a City of Jacksonville board that I have been recently appointed to that. And then personally, I am a member of Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated. Just celebrated 18 years with me and my line sisters. So super excited about that. And locally, I serve as the first vice president for our chapter. I am a member of the Order of the Eastern Star, Prince Hall affiliated. So I'm a member of that chapter here. I'm a member of DOI, which is its Imperial Court, which is an auxiliary of the ancient Egyptian Arabic Order of the Nobles of the Mystic Shrine, which is Prince Hall Shriners. So I am a member of that. And so that kind of is where I spend the majority of my time.
No, that's amazing. Almost 20 years in. That is crazy.
That's right. Yeah, crazy. Yeah, I found some pictures of us on the yard the other day. My line sister shared them, and if I could take back the box braids or the cornrows that were live and well back in the early 2000s, I would. But it's been a long road, a long, beautiful road in Zeta.
Yep, absolutely. Before I kick it over to Andreas, I have one more question. You talked about a lot of things that you're involved in, and obviously, you work in sports. I just want to know, like, how are you able to manage that time? Because I think a lot of people, it's very difficult for a lot of people to manage that time, especially if you're working in sports and doing other, extracurricular activities. I'm the same way as well. It's hard to find that balance. So can you explain for our viewers out there how you find that balance?
Yeah, I live and die by my calendar. If it's not in my calendar, it doesn't happen. But my extra affiliations also know during the season, I'm a lot less available than what I am in the off season. So I have to make sure that I'm not trying to put too much on my plate at what time, which is easy to do. And then I make sure I rest when I rest. I was talking to Avery earlier. I love TV, like TV shows. I love movies. And not just watching them, but I really watch them, like with the lighting and stuff like that. I love it. I just really love the writing behind it and everything. So I allow myself to do the things that I enjoy to do that's outside of all of that. So I sleep. I play with my dog that you might hear rustling around here as well. I love going to the beach. I love relaxing, eating with friends and stuff like that. So I find balance by making sure I have time for my self-care.
Absolutely. That's very important. And I'm glad you said that, for our audience out there who really needs to understand that. So thank you. Avery, you want to close it out, bro?
All right. Thanks, bro. Okay, Andrew, I did mention to you before we started that we might have an off script question or two, but we got one for you, a special question. Y'all been listening, right? You guys understand the Savery Show Speaker Series. We kind of have a tradition here at the end of the show. Y'all been listening. This episode number 7. Y'all know what it is. But Andrea, got to put you on the spot. We need to know through all of your experiences working in sports or even just personally in your personal time. We would like to know, what is your savory moment? So the Savery Show, is Savery and Avery. Sorry, Savery and Avery. Sterling and Avery put together. I know. Sterling and Avery put together, right? But also, it's a play on words for the term savory, spelled Savory, something to being full flavor, tasty, and delicious. So all those tasty, delicious moments you've had in your life, personally or professionally, give us your one savory moment that we can end on.
My one savory moment out of all of them, Avery, that's how you're going to do me?
I gotta put you on the spot. I had to do it to you. I'm sorry, but I got to.
It's between two. You sure I can't give you two? Can I give you two?
We'll let you do two. It's okay.
Okay,
It's okay.
thank you.
We'll let you do
No,
two.
we gotta give her one. She gotta pick
Let
one.
me bend the rules. Come on. Sterling,
no, she
don't
gotta
do
pick
me like
one.
that.
Combine them into one, maybe something like that. Yeah.
I would say, and I literally remember saying this is the best day of my career, but the very first high school heritage game that we did, and we had beautiful weather. The kids were on the field in their Red Caps uniforms. They were holding up the trophy. You know, there were 3,000 kids screaming their head off. And I remember just looking at Harold and saying, this is the best day of my career. So that would probably be my savory moment, just from the sheer fact that we knew we impacted somebody that day.
That's a great one too. I'm sorry, we're doing one. I agree with Sterling. We're doing one.
I mean,
but
you took it out of me. You took it out of me. But
listen,
I'll accept it.
Andrea, we appreciate you so much for stopping by the Savery Show. Again, everybody listening, this has been the Savery Show Speaker Series episode number 7. All right. We had the senior director of community engagement for the Jacksonville Jumbo Shrimp. If you guys are in the Jacksonville area, check them out. Minor league baseball is fun, man. It's all about that fan experience. Y'all catch a game, not going to cost you too much. If you're in Jacksonville, check them out. With that being said, as we conclude here, y'all, as I love to say, remember, the Savery Show is available for those watching on YouTube. Shout out to y'all. But if you're listening on audio, just remember, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, long list. Wherever you listen to podcasts, you will find us. Search The Savery Show on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube at The Savery Show. Remember, Savery is spelled Savery. It's been real, Andrea. Thank you again. Our listeners, y'all take it easy. We're out.
All right, y'all.
Have a great night.